What's up, everyone? So today I'm going to be giving some looksmaxxing advice. So let's get right into it. So the first person we have here, one thing that immediately jumps out to me is just the haircut and hairstyling. So we can see there's the clear lack of effort within the hairstyling, and it looks like he just got out of bed. So just in terms of social perception, I would say that actually maintaining his hairstyle in a little bit more kept manner and getting, potentially more frequent haircuts would go a long way for him. Just because when you go out in public and you see someone who looks like they just got out of bed and their hair looks all messy and it's like unintentionally messy, it really is a sign of low status. So, in terms of social treatment, that could boost him a little bit. But when I also came across these pictures, it seemed like many people told him that he looks sad, tired, and a bit depressed. And this is mainly stemming from his eye area. So, obviously these aren't the greatest pictures, but it does look like he does have some negative canthal tilt. So he would be a potential candidate for something like a canthoplasty. And then his eye area is also suffering a bit because a little bit too much upper eyelid exposure. And then his eyebrows are also extremely high set. And his eyebrows are also not fully dense and thick. So, in terms of eyebrows, I would recommend that he use something like minoxidil in conjunction with microneedling. And what this would do would be, thicken the eyebrow hairs, and then he's eventually going to want to dye them black to, also give more thickness and give a more striking appearance and meet sort of the ideal coloring that we look for. And then also from the front, in terms of eyebrows, he would also benefit from something like a Botox injection. And what this would do would be relax the muscles, and therefore the eyebrows would become a little bit more low set. And then also from the front, I think he would benefit from neck training. So we can see the neck is a bit thin and he's lacking a bit of dimorphism. And so if you were able to thicken the neck to sort of meet his jaw width, this would benefit him tremendously in terms of a dimorphic appearance. And then from the side, my main recommendation to him would be that the nose is a little bit, too hooked and downturned. So he would potentially be a good candidate for a rhinoplasty. So let's get into our next person. So similar to the last person, this guy is suffering from sort of phthalo within like the hairstyling, and it really stems from the fact that he looks like he could potentially be balding already. Just because when we look at the bangs, it seems to be that there's a thinness to the hairs that isn't common, and so therefore he might potentially want to get on something like finasteride, dutasteride in conjunction with minoxidil. In terms of hairstyling, I would recommend that he grow out his hair a little bit just to mask some of this thinning, or he could experiment with something that's actually a bit shorter, but sort of revealing the thinness with the bangs is not the greatest look, and the styling just isn't that great to begin with. And also similar to the last guy, I think his eye area has a couple areas where he can improve. So if we look at the eyebrows, they're only about like half filled in. So if we look at this middle picture, the eyebrow only seems to be, thick for like half of the eye covering. We want that to go the whole way. So he would also benefit from microneedling and minoxidil to thicken that. And then he's eventually going to want to dye them a darker shade. So potentially dark brown or black if he's looking for a more striking appearance. And he also has a bit of hollowing in the under eyes. So he would be a good candidate for something like infraorbital rim implants and or fat grafting to help mask that hollowing that we're seeing. And then from the side, we can also see that the eyes are also popping out a little bit. So we would see a big improvement from the infraorbital rim implants if he had a little bit more bone mass to push out and make the eyes appear deeper set. And that would be my main recommendation for this guy. So let's get into our third and final person. So here we have a female, and what I would say with her is that her main weakness is stemming from the eye area. So really is what we're seeing is when we look in the eyes, we're seeing a little bit too much whiteness, which means that there's too much sclera show. And this can also give the appearance of, being tired. And so, therefore, she would benefit from something like a lower eyelid retraction to just bring that eyelid up and, get rid of some of the, white show. And that procedure is usually typically done in conjunction with some form of canthoplasty. And then when I also look at her, we're seeing that there is already some hollowing in the under eyes, and that it just looks like to be a little bit thin in terms of bone mass in this area. So she would also be a good candidate for something like infraorbital rim implants, and or fat grafting as well. But those are, the main things that catch my attention on what these people can do to immediately improve. There's some other things, that these people could potentially explore. But in terms of just fixing, the biggest weaknesses, those are the main things that jump out to me in all of these three people. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.